Okay, it seems like every man and his dog has a YouTube channel these days, just for like vlogging and stuff. And I figured I need an outlet. I don't really make YouTube videos anymore. I kind of want to change that. I've wanted to do vlogging for ages and ages and ages, and I just haven't had the motivation. But then I got this new camera that I'm filming with, which is the Panasonic GH5, and now I'm like, I want to do things. So yeah, this is an introduction to me, and then I'm going to go on to the actual subject of this video, which is about the Canon 550D and why I'm never going to get rid of it, unless it breaks. Though I'll have to get rid of it. So just to introduce myself, my name's Sam, I'm 24. I'm currently working as a freelance video maker. I'm working on about 3 businesses at the moment, you know, ranging from weddings to whatever. And I also love music as well. Wait, hang on. You can see guitars and, come on, just there we go, pedalboard. Right there. Yes. So that's what this channel's about. This channel is about music, gear, and cameras and filming stuff. I don't know if I'll keep up with it, but whatever, we'll see what happens. I have to get into the habit of editing, which I'm really out of the habit of editing now. But I've got this camera set up. Well, look, terrible lighting. I think this is always just going to be the case. It's just always going to be terrible lighting. And I've got the ISO set to auto because it's just a lot easier that way. So yes, let's talk about why I'm never going to get rid of the 550D. Right, I've actually not got that long to film this, and I want to just get it out and done. I'm in the middle of cooking dinner. It's Easter Day at the moment. It's, what, 1st of April? Yeah, 1st of April. I really am the only one in the house who does any cooking. I live with my mum, my brother and my sister, and they never seem to cook. And plus I don't really trust anyone else to do a roast dinner the right way. You got to get the roast potatoes right. If they're not salty and oily, they're just not right. And for anyone who's watching outside of the UK, if anyone is, roast dinners are the greatest thing ever. They just are. Right, so 550D. I've had this thing since 2011, and that's coming off. Let's just, there we go. So I've had this camera since about, yeah, must be about 2011, and it has just been one of the best. I was going from having just sort of a cheap HD camcorder, which was okay, to now having a really good camera with a nice size image sensor. I can do this nice shallow depth of field. I can choose the frame rate finally. I'm not shooting in this horrible interlace. The actual quality of the footage and the quality of the color reproduction and of like skin tones and the ability to, you know, change lenses is like a huge deal. This 12-minute recording limitation, it's only ever been problems like once or twice. When I was, you know, up until very recently, in fact, literally from now about a week ago, part of the reason I'm so inspired is because I've just got this new camera, as I think I said. I was shooting with this, weddings. I've shot 4 weddings, and actually 5 if you include the one I shot the other day. And I wasn't even going to get this, but then my dad's very kindly agreed to loan me the money and I'll pay him back as I'm sort of building this up. And it made sense to upgrade now, although I'm sure, you know, you guys are aware of DSLR film guide Simon Cade, I think. He always makes incredible points as to why the T3i 600D, but close enough, is still a great camera. But for me, it was things like image detail, the ability to shoot 4K is useful to me. Slow motion, especially for weddings, these days they all have it. The ability to have more dynamic range. You know, this is about 6 stops currently. On the Cine profile, I get about 10 to 12. And then if I bother to fork out for vlog, it'll be like 12, maybe 13 if I'm lucky. The other thing is just like little features. You know, like I've got audio monitor on here, flip out screen, touch screen as well. It shoots, well, unlimited. I can just record as long as I want. And there's so many other features. It's been gone over like many times. Although the one thing I don't like about, well, there's 2 things. One, the flash. I'd like a flash. The other thing is, I'm not sure how I feel about micro four third sensor as opposed to the APS-C one on this. Now that's obviously a mirror camera as opposed to a mirrorless one. But just having obviously the bigger sensor, I'll get more shallow depth of field on this than I will on this. And in my experience, one of the things that I do find is that because you got such a shallow depth of field, it's pretty easy to know when you're in focus, because it's like, oh, the background's really out of focus. But on this, unless you've got focus peaking on, and even then, sometimes it's not really that wonderful. If you're trying to focus mid-shot, I'm finding that some of my shots are still slightly out of focus. I'd actually rather have more of a shallow depth of field. So I think either I'm going to have to get like something with a much wider aperture, or fork out how many hundreds of pounds for a speed boost. But I'd rather not get the speed boost, which is so expensive. But yeah, sorry, going back. This is what you'll find with me. I just tend to go off on tangents. Going back to this one. So yes, I've been shooting weddings with this. You get great looking results. You know, very cinematic. If you shoot at the right frame rate, shoot at the right shutter speed. Now, one of the stupidest things I have done only until very recently is I didn't have an ND filter, like a variable ND filter, and that meant that when I'm outside I have to crank up the shutter speed and the aperture to be able to shoot in this highlight. And then of course if you crank up the shutter speed you get this jerky effect, which is really only usable for action, and even then you kind of need to use that sparingly. But you know, small things aside, like this has just served me like incredibly well. And one of the things I didn't realize is that, you know, I thought the T3i, the 600D, had stabilization in the body because they stopped making these. They stopped doing these kit lenses with the stabilize. I don't know if you can if you can focus. There we go. Stabilization stopped having that, and we only discovered that the other day because my business partner Adam was also shooting on the 600D. As I said, we literally got this days before, and thank goodness we did, because that made all the difference. Like, it stepped us up from being alright, and you know, we can get decent shots, to okay, this is looking really good. And now, you know, the stuff we're cutting together, and I only really use this for ceremony shooting, anything requiring audio, because I only received the one battery of this and my other ones didn't arrive in time, so I had to be a bit sparing in how I use this. But yes, this one still held its own pretty well. And cutting together footage, as long as you soften the footage on this one, matches pretty well. On the sort of downsides, the low light performance isn't great. 800 ISO is really as high as you can go, and even then it's not great. 1600 is usable just, but not really. And yeah, we were finding with our low light shooting, I mean, fortunately we had an on-camera light, which made a lot of things better. I mean, I didn't have that until recently. You know, the weddings I did shoot, fortunately I was only shooting them for friends, and I was only charging like a couple of £100 just to do the basics and do an edit. It wasn't too much of a problem, but now I'm noticing things. And then this, even though this isn't, you know, amazing and low light, it's not the A7S II, it's still pretty damn good, like, compared to what I'm used to. You know, at 3200 ISO, it's still a very usable picture. And even at 6400, you can use it if you know what you're doing as far as denoising footage. But you know, its low light performance is reasonable, and it's something that I really enjoyed and I really appreciated having in my latest shoot. But that being said, you know, what are you going to expect from a camera that's from 2010, 2011? At the time, the low light performance on this was really good. Like, I was able to shoot some pretty decent stuff with it. But yeah, no, I don't think I'm ever gonna get rid of this. As far as this works, this is always gonna be a good backup camera. I've got, as mentioned earlier, I finally bought myself an ND filter. Got a variable one because I can't be bothered to faff around with changing ND things, but there you go, like, ooh, very exciting. And this only cost me about 20 quid. It's a Gobe, I think, G-O-B-E, capital. It's all pretty good. The other great thing is the fact that the lens on this one, the 12-60 Vario, is the same diameter as this one, so 58mm and 58mm means I was able to swap over my UV filter. I was able to use the same ND filter that I just bought for this, so it's all good really. But obviously, moving onwards and upwards, this won't be my primary camera. It's not going to be, again, like, the GH5 is just incredible. The optical image stabilization is just, I mean, you could almost get away with that, a stabilizer or a gimbal. Unfortunately, I can't afford one at the moment. That's next on the list, as well as a drone. See, I'm not one of these people on YouTube who has like tons of kit, thousands and thousands of pounds of dollars worth of kit. I've got reasonable amounts. You know, I've got a nice microphone. I've got a really nice tripod, slider. You know, fairly low cost jib. But some of the shots I was able to get with that, like, just with a bit of expertise and knowing settings inside and out for this, was still like pretty damn decent as far as I'm concerned. And you know, they can only get better with what I've got here. If you actually look, the quality of standard DSLR cameras, even get, you know, the latest, I think it's what, 800, 750D, something like that, maybe 800D. I don't know where they're at now with it. You know, they're always bringing out a new model once a year. The video quality, if you actually look at it, it's not much better. I mean, they've made advances. Canon's doing really well with the autofocus, but the actual video quality and the bitrate and stuff is barely improved. That's that's why I just stuck with this camera for so long. It wasn't until these mirrorless cameras, it wasn't until A7S II was a big thing, it wasn't until the well, about the GH3 or GH4 that I started to be like, oh, okay, kind of interested, and then suddenly I'm like, okay, I think I kind of need 4K now. That's where everyone's going. I need to swap up. But even then, even if I'm shooting in 4K, I'm very rarely going to deliver in 4K. There's just no need. I mean, a good quality 1080p upscale to a 4K TV looks, as far as I'm concerned, far better than a streamed true native 4K YouTube video. I'd rather see a 4K 1080p Blu-ray than a 4K Netflix video. I think the 4K Blu-ray, just the bitrate is what's important, and that's the thing. This does shoot better bitrate, and that's why I've done this. The bitrate on this is pretty good, but it's more the sharpness and in the detail in it. But in all honesty, like, I could have held on if I absolutely needed to. It's only because clients have started building up, and it's more based on the need. But this has still got plenty of life in it. I mean, I've got like 5 batteries, maybe 6 now for it. I've got some lens adapters. I've got this lens is currently set. I've got the micro four thirds adapter on it currently, but I've got an EF mount for this as well. This is off an old Nikon F80 35mm film camera. Believe that'll, full frame lens equivalent basically. So I am finding the crop factor is a bit more, but not terribly. And the fact that the GH5 does have image stabilization built into the sensor means I can use any lens and get a level of stabilization. Although the dual OIS is incredible. But still, even in 2018, this is still a good camera. If you're starting out doing freelance video just at sort of a low level, this is still perfectly decent quality, as long as you light things right, and as long as you know your settings in and out, as long as you set your shutter speeds to 1/50, you shoot in 24 or 20. I mean, I'd say shoot 25 in the UK because of PAL format and, for home media, but 24, 25. Personally, I hate shooting 30, but that's just, I don't like the way that looks. That's my own thing. But as long as you're shooting 1/50, you control your aperture correctly. You've got ND filters for outside if you need it. You're using lighting correctly. Using things like, a slider, which you can get for about £100 or less, $100, something like that for a reasonable one, and then a decent tripod with a fluid head. I actually would, at this point, you can probably get this second hand with a kit lens, hopefully with image stabilization, for 115, 120 quid maybe, and I'd rather spend £250 on a decent Manfrotto tripod with a good fluid head. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the Canon 550D. It's just still a wonderful camera, and it's still got a place in my heart and always will, and I'll always have a use for it, especially as a backup. I'm definitely happy I've upgraded to the GH5, and I'm sure a lot of people agree that the GH5 is a wonderful camera and certainly gives the A7S II a run for its money. I do like the idea of a full frame sensor though, but that's beside the point. Anyway, my name is Sam, and this is the first of hopefully some more vlogs. There'll be more vlogs focused on music, guitars, gear, pedals, and also more on filming. And I'll include videos of projects I'm working on and behind the scenes footage, and we'll see what comes of it. Maybe nothing, maybe something. I don't know. Bye-bye.